So the first thing you want to note in the packet for this week's readings is the best place to get updated information is the NYSED Bilingual Education webpage. It provides you all of the different information that's in the packet besides what was provided by RSE-TASC. It will give you updated field memos, guidance documents, resources for parents, different things to connect to Engage New York. This is the best place to get that information to be most up to date. Because in a year or two, the packet that you're getting for our class could be outdated. Here's different field memos that guide our legal responsibilities. The resources connect you to Arborn, which we talked about a little bit this week. Different organizations that can help you, information for parents. Their Bill of Rights, different information about the NYSED and NYSESLAT that are provided in different languages. This is the best place to get the most up-to-date information. That being said, let's review the packet. So this first page is just kind of a contents page, table of contents. It'll let you know what exists in the packet. So first, to start with some background information, here's a sheet. It just gives you background on RSE-TASC and what they can provide to your school and district, and it's through BOCES. Lau and Nicholas is the Supreme Court case that guaranteed language education for English language learners. So it's an important moment in our field that we understand why we're allowed to teach, or why we teach English language learners English, that they have that right in New York State. So then the second section is NYSED and other Part 154 documents. So the first document is our overall guiding document from NYSED. It's the blueprint for English language learners' success. In it, it details exactly what we need to do in the field. So the first and most important is all teachers are English language learner teachers, and they need to plan accordingly. We're all responsible for the success of English language learners, so on and so forth. So take the time after you watch this video to read through the blueprint. The next document is the acronyms and definitions. As many of you know, in New York State and the field of education in general, we really love acronyms. So this sheet, it's a front and back, gives you those different acronyms as they've been changing in the field. So for instance, integrated ENL is the current term for content area instruction and English language instruction by a duly certified teacher or by a content teacher and an ESOL teacher. Then we also have standalone ENL instruction delivery, which means English language in its own classroom taught by an ESL teacher. We have acronyms for students, different acronyms for the field, and then we go back to the Part 154. Now you've already read the Part 154 regulations. If you haven't yet and made your chart, pause here and then come back. This document talks about the questions and answers different people have asked of NYSED that they've organized about the Part 154 changes. It covers topics such as identification and placement, what programs are required to provide, how many students have to be in a program to provide how many hours, in which types of contexts. New teacher certification requirements, professional development requirements, so on and so forth. The next document is the Screening, Identification, and Placement and Review Guide. There's a condensed version of this later on in the packet, but this is the expanded. If you ever have any questions about how do you go about placing an English language learner, how do you even start the process, this document is very detailed in what you have to do. Now, most importantly, you need to notice it has to take place within 10 days of enrollment. So this document covers the home language questionnaire, which all students, regardless of their language, have to fill out when they register for school. This then flags that a student speaks another language at home, and it begins the process of the chart, which we'll talk about in a second. So if you ever have any questions on the placement or the process, this document will support you in that. Okay, I mentioned that there was a chart to simplify all of the information in that packet, and here it is. And this should be in every district office when students are registered. This chart, whoever does the registration should have access to this. All students, when they enter a school, get the home language questionnaire. So either the parents note that yes, the student speaks another language at home other than English, or no. If they say no, the student's not an L, stops that point right there. If they do mark that the student speaks another language, then you do the individual interview. This has to be someone who is trained in English language education. So if you conduct, and it has to connect with their prior schoolwork. They have to show documents of their literacy and math skills in their home language. So if the student, you interview them and you determine that their primary language is English, you stop here. If not, you continue on. If a student has an individualized education plan, meaning they've already been in a district in the United States that has given them an IEP, they continue to have that IEP, and we'll talk about that later in the packet. If a student does not have an IEP, you continue on down the chart. LPT is the language proficiency team, so we're going to talk about that at a later point in this packet. But here's a synopsis of what the LPT will do in this situation. So you've now had the home interview, you've determined that they are an English language learner. You have to give them their primary identification assessment, which in New York State is the NYSED. So qualified personnel has to administer the NYSED to the student. If the student scores is commanding, the student is not an English language learner, they go out at this point. If they are, the NYSED will tell you what level that they're at. And then you continue on down the chart. It will tell you what to do if a student is a student with interrupted formal education, a SIFE student. These are often refugee students. Once you have the NYSED score, you have to notify the parents. The notification letter has to be kept in the student's cumulative record along with the home language questionnaire. Previously, we did not have to keep these documents. They do have to be kept now. You have to contact the parents. NYSED provides a lot of the contact forms online now in different languages. And there has to be a parent orientation for the English language learner parents so that they can understand. Then you get into L program placement, review of their determination, and how to exit the programs. Next in the packet is an example of the home language questionnaire. This one's in English. There are home language questionnaires provided on NYSED's bilingual website in various languages. I believe they're up to 25 different languages at this point. If they don't have it, BOCES might have it already translated, so you can check with them. If BOCES doesn't have it, they might know of a school district that has it. The next document is the language proficiency team that we talked about. This chart pertains only to students who come into the district with an IEP. Let me repeat that. Students who are English language learners who also have additional special education needs will go through this process if they come into the district with an IEP. If they do not have an IEP and it is alerted that you think they might have a special education need, they will go through the same CSE process along with the language proficiency team. This document here is only for those students who come into the district with an IEP already created by another school district. The language proficiency team needs to include the principal, parents, translators as necessary, a TESOL professional, and a special education teacher. Next, we have an example of the NYSED parent information brochure. Remember, parents have to be alerted through all of these different steps. This brochure is provided on NYSED's website in various languages as well. and it will explain to the parents their rights as well as what is occurring. This is an example of the raw scores for the 2015 students. This is a form template letter about the home language questionnaire and what the determination was by the district. This template is also provided in various languages, both online and NYSED, and BOCES in Rochester has it in different languages as well. This chart is the units of study chart. So it's broken into grades 9 through 12 and K through 8. So remember, English as a new language is what we used to refer to as ESL. And this will tell you exactly what the student is required legally to be given based on their needs. So this one right here is for English as a new language for grades 9 through 12. The next page is K through 8, English as a new language. Then we have bilingual education programs. If a district has not just a school, the district has 20 or more speakers of the same language, now Part 154 requires that they have a bilingual education program. So that means they need to have a certified bilingual teacher. That is different than the English as a new language programs. English as a new language programs have to be provided if a district just has one student who speaks another language. When they have 20 or more that speak the same home language, they have to provide a bilingual education program. So this chart tells for 9th through 12th grade what is required in terms of integrated ENL, standalone ENL, bilingual courses, etc. And the next page is K through 8 of the bilingual education. So remember, we have two different types of programs now under Part 154. We have ENL, English as a new language, that districts have to provide if they have one language speaker who is an English language learner. If a district has 20 or more that speak the same language, the same home language, they now legally have to provide a bilingual education program. So the requirements for the two different programs change a little bit, which is why we have the two different charts. So we have the K through 8 and 9 through 12, and then we have the K through 8, 9 through 12 for bilingual. These are all on NYSED's website, and they're color-coded once you get onto NYSED's website. Then you have a glossary of the different bilingual education, English as a new language education, all the different terms that NYSED has provided. Part 154 also changed the professional development requirements for all teachers, not just English language teachers. And this gives you a breakdown of the requirements for your professional development, what you have to complete in English as a second language or English as a new language. If you used to teach under the old NYSED SLAT, under the old requirements, this chart breaks down a comparison of the old NYSED SLAT versus the new one. So the NYSED SLAT is the test that students take every May or April, depending on how the schedule falls. And it's their continued assessment of their learning. So the NYSED TEL every student takes who's determined to be an English language learner when they begin their program. NYSED SLAT, all English language learners take in May each year to continue their determination. This is an example NYSED SLAT report. And then there's other documents. So RSE-TASC this year provides a lot of great workshops, in particular with their bilingual specialists that you might want to consider attending. School districts do have to provide students bilingual evaluators if they feel that they might also have special education needs. So in this packet is different bilingual psychologists, speech pathologists, and evaluators that districts can hire to use in that effort if they need them. And then the last part of this document, remember, we have to provide parents with documents in their native language. Unfortunately, sometimes you need to get a document home to a parent and you can't get it translated. So there's different languages provided here saying this is a notice, it's very important, it affects your education of your child, please have it translated. So that a parent doesn't just get a letter home from school and say, I can't understand this, and it gets tossed out. This alerts them that they really need to pay attention to it. Let me know if you have any questions on this document. I know it's very dense.